there's another Jimmy Dore clip, and I'm like, I'm afraid to do it because like, this is okay. This is another pet peeve of mine. All right, I was going to jump to a Glenn Beck clip, but fuck it. This is another pet peeve of mine. So this is another Jimmy Dore clip. Son of a bitch. You guys know this is a pet peeve of mine. This is, by the way, the title of this is Jewish Group Endorses Nazis in Ukraine. Now, I'm certain that is materially and specifically true. It's not that they supported the Azov Battalion, which has like 8% dudes who are, who show up at Nazi meetings and shit like that years ago, and that they've been slowly brooming them out and yada. No. These guys, they don't like the Azov Battalion. They're supporting specifically the 8% of Nazis that are in that group, according to this. And this is one of the things, fucking hell. Jewish group endorses Nazi Ukraine. You can't make this up. I'm curious what this says because I'm guessing you can, and he did. Also, you can make up anything. I don't judge the outlandishness of reality based on somebody else's lack of imagination. Now, having just watched that bit with Jimmy Dore, if we can even call it a fucking bit, Jesus, it's awful. Maybe he can't. Maybe Jimmy looks at stuff and goes, you can't even make this up, because he literally can't make shit up. He's incapable of making things. It's like a massive lapse in creativity in this fucker. And by the way, this dude, I'm like, is it a skinhead Jewish person? Is that the point we're trying to make? I'm like, you piqued my interest, asshole. Knowing this. Jesus Christ. Simmer down. It's like this place seems nice, though. Disco bar. I want to open a disco bar. I think we should put disco bar on the beer. I graduated from disco bar. Yay! Disco bar. And now the opposite of curiosity.
I'm here with Howie Scora, the author of the new play called Gaslight House, which is at the Whitefire Theater in Sherman Oaks starting this weekend through June 4th. And right now I want to talk about the
information liberation. ADL defends Ukraine neo-Nazis. They don't attack Jews or Jewish institutions. Information liberation. Okay, so the ADL. Christmas information liberation. Okay, hold on. We'll find this. Hold on. I'm sure word for word it makes sense, but you know me. And I'm sure information liberation is an absolutely honest and honorable title for this thing. ADL defends. This is the article. Russian ruble recovers nearly all post-sanction losses. Also a story. Hannity, nuke Russia off the face of the earth if they use WMDs. We can't cower in fear over mutually assured destruction. Biden signs anti-lynching bill, ignores lynching of New Orleans grandma Linda Fricky just last week. What the? Oh, because she's white. 'Cause the idea that she was lynched, it wouldn't count. What the fuck? What do you mean ignores? Linda Fricky, RIP, 73-year-old grandmother, carjacked, beaten, lynched by 14s in New Orleans. Oh, I see. She was, this woman got her arm caught in her seatbelt as they drove away with her car. It tore her arm off. She died. I believe that's the story. Information liberation is, this is a huge right-wing talking point. This is all like, black teenagers are monsters and they're roaming the streets. That's the whole story around this, right? That this grandma was lynched. Of course, first of all, this wasn't racial. They stole her fucking car and they had total disregard for human life. That's not lynching. They didn't hang her. She got stuck in her. Like, this is just gross. I mean, maybe she was beaten and lynched. Maybe this is another story entirely. But I'm pretty sure that's the one they're talking about. And by the way, on this site, what's the ruble recovering is the most popular story. Information liberation. Okay, let's see. Analysis. Video, latest comments about content. Okay, who are we? Founded in 2005, Information Liberation is an independent news and commentary site dedicated to pursuing the truth wherever it leads. Without apology and without care for being politically correct. That's, how to use our site. Go there and read the shit, analysis, catalog of original there. This is a catalog of all our original commentary. Can be reprinted in full at will. DM say, hey, you can use this stuff all you want. All original information, Article CC 4.0, privacy policy, and the about is the same fucking page. Yeah. That's not about. I don't know who the fuck you are. Who started it? Who's on it? Let's see. Contact. Maybe the contact will tell us. Oh, that's not going to happen. There we go. Hold on. Stop. That opens up your email. That's fun. No, don't cancel. Don't save. I can open my mail on the craziness. Luckily, dummy email comes up automatically on mine. You're welcome. But so that's, you hit contact and it automatically opens your email. That's not suspect at all. Latest comments on Discus. Let's see. Whoa. So this is their Discus. Wait. So if you, check this out. This is, if you go to their latest comments, this is where the site he's citing takes you. Jon Stewart, this is a quote from Jon Stewart. America has always prioritized white comfort over black survival. This is from one of the most recent Jon Stewart, the problem with white people. I think it's the new one that the problem with white people, this one right here. So this is one of the most recent. America's always prioritized whites have very serious problem. Jon Stewart. By the way, and this is their article on it. Jon Stewart, America's always prioritized white comfort over black survival. Whites, quote, have a very, very serious problem. Anybody want to venture a guess whether they are for this or against this? This is the site that Jimmy Dore is using as the jumping off point for his criticism of both the Ukrainian people being flooded with neo-Nazis and the Anti-Defamation League. This is the site Jimmy went, people need to look at information liberation. They need to see this site. Jimmy, who is a Bernie supporter, right? Or was. Now he hates him. Weird. Jonathan Stewart Leibowitz tried to con people into watching his new show by acting like he was going to serve as a voice of reason and defy wokeism. Oh. Did he now? He went on Stephen Colbert's pronounced Colbert show last year. Jesus Christ. To push the COVID lab leak theory and win over conservatives. So that's the whole irony thing. Okay. Here's a snapshot of his first videos he put on his new show. Themes were dick jokes, self-flagellation, standing up for veterans, and standing against war. Here's what his show is like now. That means, by the way, this dick joke, self-flagellation, standing up for veterans, and standing against war is all what they consider modern conservatism. Okay. Jon Stewart is a new convert to the woke orthodoxy and is using his new Apple Plus TV show to inform white people on how problematic they are in the U.S. He put on the ruse for about a month before transitioning. So Jon Stewart's bit about white people is after he transitioned. And here's proof. These are the things racism and resource guard, taking responsibility for systemic racism. The mainstream media needs a new mission. The problem with white people. Dismantling racism is patriotic. Representation matters, but it doesn't solve racism. The racism spectrum with Leslie Jones. These are like interviews he did too, right? Okay. The themes are whitey bad, Black Jewish alliance good. Motherfucker. Look at this. What the hell? This is the site. What the fuck? This is the site that Jimmy Dore is using. Look at this. He's referencing this site. Have you guys ever heard of this fucking place before? I've never heard of it. I've never heard of information liberation before. Honestly, you gotta like be on. You gotta scour for this shit. Whoa. This has been a recurring theme in his comedy and is no way new, as the above tweet suggested. What? New? All right. If he's so concerned with equity and reparations, why doesn't he give away his home equity and empty out his bank account to help the oppressed? Shit, you could be talking about Jimmy Dore right there. But Jimmy's not Jewish, so they don't give a fuck. Insofar as I know. I don't think so, but I don't know. Celebrity net worth estimates he's worth about 120 million. If Jon Stewart's so above it and legit, why didn't he change his name from Jonathan Leibowitz? He should be proud of his heritage. So they're quoting fucking hell. They end their criticism of Jon Stewart with a Trump quote. So anyways, this is the article that Jimmy is using. ADL defends Ukraine's neo-Nazis. Sorry, one second. They don't attack Jews or Jewish institutions. The anti-defamation, and this will, like, I don't know if they're, I'm not completely convinced that the person who's posting this thing is like, is upset or like, fuck, the ADL is based. Here you go. The Anti-Defamation League, the leading pro-Israel lobbying group in America, published a Q&A defending Ukraine's neo-Nazi groups on the grounds that they don't attack Jews or Jewish institutions. In an article, Why is Putin calling the Ukrainian government a bunch of Nazis? The ADL interviewed David Fishman, professor of Jewish history at the Jewish Theological Seminary, to explain why Ukraine's neo-Nazis aren't so bad. Is that what they... There are neo-Nazis in Ukraine, just as there are in the U.S. and Russia, for that matter. But they are a very marginal group with no political influence who don't attack Jews or Jewish institutions in Ukraine. There are no neo-Nazis in Ukraine. There are it's okay, they just blow that quote up. Russia has for years highlighted the activity of a marginal group of Ukrainian ultra-nationalists as a way of stigmatizing all of Ukraine. Oh, hey, it's almost like why don't you just fill in Jimmy Dore wherever the word Russia is used? Jimmy Dore has for weeks, he didn't give a fuck till just recently. Jimmy Dore has for weeks highlighted the activity of a marginal group of Ukrainian ultra-nationalists as a way of trying to stigmatize all of Ukraine. Yes, some members of these ultra-nationalist groups have used Nazi insignia, made Hitler salutes, and used anti-Semitic rhetoric, beg your pardon, but they are politically insignificant and in no way representative of Ukraine. The political parties which the ultra-nationalist support received just over 2% of the vote in 2019 elections. Ukraine is a flawed democracy, but unquestionably a democracy, and in no way is a Nazi regime. And this is they put it out there. And by the way, the ADL is fucking spot on. I can't wait to see how this motherfucker tries to turn this into a gotcha.
ADL and what's happening in Ukraine, and as I remind you, single tickets are now available in Orlando and Tampa. Single
tickets.
Tickets, single general admission tickets, and for the rest of our schedule too, we're now making single. You don't have to buy 4 tickets or 6 tickets or 8. You can buy one single.
What the fuck? What do you mean you don't have to? Apparently that was gutting half the fucking room. Who the fuck only sells 4 tops at their show? What kind of elitist fucking bullshit is that? Hi, I'm Hal Sparks. I'm a comedian. If you want to come to one of my shows alone, come and make some friends. What the fuck? If you don't have any friends or your friends aren't available, stay home and be sad, because I only allow groups of 4 and 6 because I cut a deal with the kitchen so that I get a slice of every table, because they put an automatic gratuity, so I get an extra 3%.
To come see a live Jimmy Dore show, go to jimmydorcomedy.com for a link.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I'm fucking chomping at the bit.
All the tickets. And so we've told you that Ukraine has a lot of Nazis.
Yes, you've told people that. It's not true.
Baked into their military. Official.
Baked into the military. No, they don't.
It's not, they don't try to hide it.
And by the way, and what he's saying is they took the Azov Battalion and they incorporated them into the official Ukrainian military. They did that with all the militias, fucko. They formed a national guard. The Azov Battalion, which again had 8% people in it who associate themselves with Nazis and that kind of shit in that region, does not mean that the other 92% can never officially fight for their country or work as volunteers when there's a fucking flood. Because Jimmy Dore thinks, well, 8% Nazi, you just fucking flush the whole goddamn thing. Because he obviously doesn't believe that, or he wouldn't be citing information liberation, which apparently felt completely justified in warning us about Jon Stewart's, where is it? The themes in his show that are whitey bad, black Jewish alliance good. What do you think the kill ratio is over at fucking information liberation, Jimmy? Christ.
Groups of Nazis. The Azov Battalion is one of them.
No, they're not.
And there's lots of Nazis that are embedded in their government also. And
no, they aren't. They're after the Euromaidan, in the first election after Euromaidan, the right-wing party associated with the neo-Nazis that had control, by the way, when Russia was puppeting the country, when Yanukovych ran the fucking country as a puppet institution for Russia, magically there was like a third of the fucking government that were associated with neo-Nazis. 27 seats, or like I think 31 overall, right? Yeah, there were 31 seats that were associated with these hyper right-wing ultranationalists that had alliances with these neo-Nazi groups. This is when Yanukovych ran it, who was the pro-Putin dude, the dude who fled the fucking country and now lives in Russia under the protection of Vladimir Putin. Yeah. By the way, and him leaving, Jimmy calls that an American-backed coup. Now, Yanukovych, while he was running things, a third of his fucking government is associated with these right-wing ultranationalist neo-Nazi fuckers. When he split and they got the next president in there before Zelensky, those guys got wiped out in the election. They went from 31 seats to 4. 4 spots in the government. Now they're less than 2% of the entire military. They've been brooming these fuckers out. Now, would it strike you as odd that when Russia had more control over Ukraine, there were more Nazis? And as Russia has lost its grip on Ukraine, there are fewer Nazis. Now, Russia is using the idea that denazification is one of their big purposes for going into Ukraine, right? We got to go in there because there's Nazis there. You put them there. That was one of the ways that the Russians could undermine the area. Let these go. Instead of putting these neo-Nazis in jail like we do with Peckerwoods over here who do shit, they drop them off in Ukraine and go, you can fuck around over there all you want, but if you come over here, we're going to kill you. And then what those guys do is align with other people like them and kind of grew that entire organization. They were allowed to run fucking free. And just like Trump's voter fraud, where he magically knows where all of it is all of a sudden, he didn't know it when he was in office, apparently, until he lost. And then he's like, it was there, and there. And everywhere they look, they're like, oh, yeah, there was some and Biden got more votes and you lose some. Same shit in Russia. The Russians are like, there's Nazis here, there's Nazis here, here, and here. Like, oh, you mean the end of the fucking bus route? Get fucked. They have been losing power in this country ever since Euromaidan. And Jimmy wants you to believe that Euromaidan was an American puppet act and that Russia has every reason to be afraid. And that there's neo-Nazis all over the fucking place. Yeah, I mean, any country with neo-Nazis all over the fucking place would have a Jewish president. Hence, I suppose, why this asshole had to scour the internet for an anti-Semitic website, an anti-black website that would post a headline like this as a gotcha, like, aha, we need to give Jimmy and his asshole friends some ammo articles because they can't find it in any legit news sources.
And so that's not a Putin talking point. People think, oh, Putin says that as propaganda. No, that's for real. And go look at her.
No, it isn't. It's a Putin talking point because he fucking put them there. And Jimmy is either willfully ignorant or just simply has a bloodlust for the people of Ukraine. There is no other fucking excuse for this. Like, anybody who does any reading about the history of this, it's self-evident. They had 31 seats when Yanukovych ran the place. They had 4 in the next election. They're down to 2% in the overall military when they had closer to 8%, which was never ubiquitous. It was never all over the fucking place. But it boiled down to 2 fucking percent. He's like, well, I mean, now's the time. If Russia didn't go in and denazify now, they'd never be able to because Ukraine would have done it for them. You can't use denazification as an excuse if the country is already in the process of denazifying.
Videos, we've documented it. It's not a little problem.
And he has not documented it. It's bullshit. He cited stuff from before 2014. This is whole fucking Jimmy's calendar stopped apparently in February of 2013.
Big deal. And now the ADL, which is the, I always forget what ADL, Anti-Defamation League.
Anti-Defamation League, yeah.
Got it. Anti-Defamation. I always want to say American something.
It's anti-defamation.
That's right.
He's so America first.
Got it. So the Anti-Defamation League. And they are primarily there to defend people from anti-Semitism. Am I wrong? Isn't that what the ADL?
Yeah,
who the fuck needs to ask questions about the ADL? Who the fuck doesn't know that the Anti-Defamation League is a organization for specifically dealing with anti-Semitic tropes and ideas in society? They're not just against people who defame other people. So fucking weird. Who has to ask?
That's their whole shtick. That's what they started as. It was.
Yeah, the ADL, that's their shtick. The Anti-Defamation League has a shtick. If you're not familiar with the term shtick, it's interestingly enough, it's a Yiddish phrase for comedy bit.
And the Jewish organization, right?
You know what kind of fucking, like, Play-Doh fucking balls it takes to say shtick about the ADL? In an article, by the way, that's like the quotes, they act as if what they're saying is bad, but everything that the ADL is saying in that is absolutely fucking measurably true.
Okay. So that's why this is ultra ironic, because.
Yeah, it's ultra ironic that a basically white supremacist website is being quoted as a source about the Anti-Defamation League, whose shtick is apparently to defend Jews from something. I mean, does anybody care? And Jimmy is using them as a source to point out that there are neo-Nazis in Ukraine, and therefore Putin is justified in strafe bombing the fucking country.
The ADL is defending Ukraine neo-Nazis. They, quote, don't attack Jews or Jewish institutions. So that's how corrupt the ADL can be.
What the fuck? That's how corrupt the ADL can be. How far down in shit do you have to dig to come up with this as an attack point on the Anti-Defamation League because your bullshit narrative about Ukraine being flooded with Nazis, so Putin's completely justified in fucking shelling maternity wards because America bad? What?
Well, as a Jew, I'm relieved to hear that.
That's I think that's sarcasm, I suppose.
That they're the good kind of Nazis. I'm so glad they're distinguishing that. They're the safe.
By the way, he has a show called Gaslight House, I guess, which is the name of his play. And I guess politically he's in line with whatever Jimmy said. I don't know the dude and I don't know his show. See it if you want to. I have no skin in that game. But I find it fascinating that it does not seem, does not seem. I'm curious if they quote the article at all and not just Jimmy found this headline and wants to share it with this dude because fuck Ukraine, it's all Nazis.
Nazis.
You can't.
That's why they're Neo.
Can you get crazier than this, Howie? I mean, as a Jewish.
Woof.
Did you ever think you would see a day where the ADL?
They didn't teach us about good Nazis in Hebrew school. They really didn't. They said Nazis, bad.
That was that.
Nazis, bad. Very simple, easy lesson.
Okay, so he's going to bring up, he'll cover this dude's face with the article. And this is also one of the most, like, cucked up fucking things. How long has this show been on and this motherfucker can't come up with another way to show himself, the article, and the other person? No one can be on screen if Jimmy's on screen, you know, if he wants to read something.
The Anti-Defamation League, the leading pro-Israel lobbying group in America, published a Q&A defending Ukraine's neo-Nazi groups on the grounds that they don't attack Jews or Jewish institutions.
Well,
by the way, this is, I mean, he's reading from Information Liberation's characterization of the Q&A. What the ADL is doing is saying that Ukraine is not overrun with neo-Nazis. They are not even a violent assaulting attack force that is materially involved in government or in the or engaged in shelling places. Like, they're just peripheral assholes. They are technically a marginalized group within Ukraine, like they are in the United States or other countries where you have freedom of speech and some speech is awful but legal. This is, hold on one second. We go back to this. This is the, where are they going? Intel claiming Putin misinformed on war as part of information war campaign. Yeah. Biden signs anti-lynching bill, ignores one. Okay, blah, blah, blah. He wants to nuke Russia. Where is it? Yeah, here it is. This is this guy Chris Menahan's characterization of the Q&A. That's not what the Q&A was about. They're answering questions about people going, wait a minute, there's Nazis in Ukraine. And so Jewish people might go, fuck, there are? Is there any truth to this? And so the ADL is going, no, they're using this as a predicate to kill people and allow for the killing of, and quite frankly, hit squads to be sent after one of the most predominant Jewish presidents in free Europe.
They're not good at their jobs. What can you say?
Maybe they're lazy.
They're just, yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe they're lazy. Maybe they just don't have the time in their day. Or they don't get up early enough to go check fucking right-wing, psychotic websites that warn us all about the black Jewish problem in America.
They're just going after who are they going after mostly? Just the gypsies? Who are they going after?
I wouldn't.
That's a regular Nazi joke, I suppose.
I honestly wouldn't know how to be a Nazi that doesn't go after Jews. It's just like it takes so much off the to-do list. Like,
well, they've been going after the Russians.
By the way, I'm starting to understand why this asshole show is called Gaslight.
In the eastern Ukraine and the Donbass. That's what those Nazis in Ukraine have been doing. They've been shelling them for 8 straight years, and they've killed 14,000 civilians.
No, the Ukrainians have not shelled 14,000 civilians in Donbass. Russians in that area have been systematically wiping out Ukrainians in those areas as they seize those territories. There is an active war zone going on. 14,000 people have died in that conflict. Do you think the Russian separatists who are taking that over, who are invading the country from Russia to take more of Ukraine, which was always part of the fucking plan, which is playing out right now, do you think those people are like, you prefer being Ukrainian? Oh, that's cool. We can share a flat. They fucking kill those people. Those are the civilians. The Ukrainians are not strafe bombing Ukrainians.
Which is what led to the Putin's invasion. So
yeah, that's what led to it. Yeah, it was just a bridge too far. He was worried about 14,000 civilians over fucking 7 years getting killed, and he killed that many people and still wasn't able to take over more of the country, so he had to keep invading. I don't even know what the fuck the logic is in this.
Off-brand. It's just really off-brand. That's all.
In an article titled, "Why is Putin calling the Ukrainian government a bunch of Nazis?" the ADL interviewed David Fishman, a professor of Jewish history at the Jewish Theological Seminary, to explain why Ukraine's neo-Nazis aren't so bad.
Again, that is the characterization. Russell Brand does this shit all the time, where they take the characterization of the assholes in one particular site and cite it as an actual source, as opposed to, this is just like, if Jimmy wrote this article, this is what he would write. It doesn't make it more true, and it's not more reflective of what's actually there. But watch out for this kind of stuff. And again, no, I tell you guys, when you see a headline and they start doing stuff and you read down go into the third paragraph, sometimes it's the fifth or the seventh, depending on how small. Bite-size media websites, oftentimes you go 5 or 7. This is the site. There are neo-Nazis in Ukraine, just as there are in the U.S., and in Russia for that matter. But they are a very marginal group with no political influence, and they don't attack Jews or Jewish institutions in Ukraine. Russia has for years highlighted the activity of marginal groups of Ukrainian and ultranationalists as a way of trying to stigmatize all of Ukraine. That's what Jimmy is doing. That is literally what he's doing here. And this fucker from Gaslight Butthole, whatever his show is.
There are neo-Nazis in Ukraine, just as there are in the United States and in Russia for that matter. But they are a very marginal group with no political...
Jesus Christ, just read it. No. This is... Yeah, all right.
Influence, and who don't attack Jews or Jewish institutions in Ukraine. He's really doing this.
It's so strange to hear that Nazis are marginalized in that country. Because... you think of marginalized groups, you definitely usually don't mean Nazis.
That's right.
Like, you just don't. But they're...
No, you do. No, you actually do. In the truest sense of the word, marginalized is exactly what happens. When the Nazis marched in Skokie, the entire community marginalized them. They closed their drapes and paid no attention to them. They let them live on the margins because we live in a free society, but they do not participate in polite society with that bullshit because they can't get away with it. They are truly marginalized. If anybody comes out in our government and straight up goes, I'm a neo-Nazi and proud of it, they're not getting elected to office. They're going to be marginalized, even by the Republican Party. Sorry. I know that's news to some people. Yeah, it's a lot of Dore for one.
And that's a lie. They're not marginalized in Ukraine. The Nazis are embedded right in their government. They're not.
Yeah, like who? Which guys? Throw some pictures up. I mean, you obviously could throw up these articles.
Guard. They have Nazi battalions, the Azov Battalion. We've showed.
Again, Nazi battalions. The Azov Battalion is not 100% Nazi. It's like 8% in there. The dude from the Nazi group was actually complaining that everybody brings up the fact that they're 8%. He's like, we're 100% of the effectiveness, though. Like, fuck off. Of course that's what he's going to say.
It's over and over. Mainstream news has written article after article about this up until we wanted to overthrow the Ukrainian government, which we did.
By the way, overthrow the Ukrainian government. They wrote, it's interesting, Jimmy, that they wrote articles about the amount of Nazis in the Ukrainian government. And then when the Ukrainian people rose up and decided to be a democracy without a Russian puppet running it, Yanukovych specifically, and I don't know why he never name drops Yanukovych. He always acts like the date is magical, but the people running the place don't matter. Yanukovych, once he pounds sand and fucks off to Russia, suddenly the number of Nazis running the place goes down, and the articles reflecting that there are a bunch of Nazis aren't being written because it's not reflective of fucking reality anymore. Especially once they get to the point where a Jew is running the place.
The United States overthrew the Ukrainian government, and now they have a Nazi problem.
And we didn't. Like, that's just cartoonish bullshit. Like, that's where and the fact that this asshole that's on with him has got a show called Gaslight Anything, and Jimmy keeps saying this is fucking, I mean, I was about to say it's amazing, but it's not actually. It's par for the course.
Their government. And that's not made up, but this guy is whitewashing it. This guy.
Yes, it is. It's made up. It's made up. If I told you that Hitler still ran Germany, the Germans walk through the streets, in Nazi uniforms, and if anybody questions them, they get rounded up and thrown in jail and all that kind of stuff, because I saw footage of it. It's in black and white, but it still happened. You'd go, well, that's the 40s. Well, you don't. Oh, so you're saying it's not true? Suddenly, after 1950, we're not going to talk about the Nazis running Germany anymore. You're like, all these people refuse. The mainstream media just will not run articles about how Germany is the party of, is the country of Hitler still. Fucking hell.
Russia has for years highlighted the activity of marginal group of Ukrainian ultra-nationalists as a way of trying to stigmatize all of Ukraine. No, Russia hasn't done that, you liar fishman. You know who's done that? Every Western media outlet has also reported on the Nazi problem in Ukraine, embedded in your government, embedded in your military.
Oh, shit. In your government, in your military. By the way, I guess he's speaking directly to Fishman, who is the professor of Jewish history at the Jewish Theological Seminary, which apparently is he's a professor of Jewish history at the Jewish Theological Seminary in Ukraine. Is that what Jimmy thinks? Not just in general, but I guess is the idea that David Fishman works. I mean, they don't cite where he is. So let me tell you. So what you're telling me is that Ukraine is just overrun with Nazis, and it requires a fucking ground war leveling cities to get them out. And your proof that that is true, Jimmy, is that this Jewish man who is a professor of Jewish history at a Jewish theological seminary in Ukraine is defending them on behalf of the ADL. This is fucking psychotic. How? And by the way, where in any of this is Medicare for all? Where's the progressive in this? Where is it? I mean, how is this not straight up Alex Jones right now? How is this not fucking far right? Other than this sounds like somebody who's in a neo-Nazi group who's going, I'm not in a neo-Nazi group. I call them clowns, like Nick Fuentes or some of these assholes do.
Individuals, but entire battalions. Go ahead, Howie.
Well,
Again, entire battalions. The Azov Battalion is one battalion, but suddenly it's battalions, plural. Also, the Azov Battalion is not 100% neo-Nazi. There's like 8% of the members that are supposedly like that. But all of them have got to die because Putin right about 8% of less than 10% of the fucking country, but they're marginal. Good Lord.
I call them a clique. Like, they're a clique.
They're a clique.
It's just nicer.
Yes, some members of these ultra-nationalist groups have used Nazi insignia, made Hitler salutes, and use anti-Semitic rhetoric, but they are politically insignificant and in no way representative of Ukraine. That's all fact. That's not true. None of that is true. Go ahead.
Yes, it is. Like, I don't even know why he's like just rando asserting this.
Well, what's a little swastika here and there on your Twitter?
Well, no, like having one, wearing one makes you an awful fucking person. But it is distinctly different in terms of whether or not I get to bomb your country, whether or not you wear them at all, or you just have people in the streets, like you have a lunatic on the corner that wears them, or you're talking about somebody who's the regional governor, or somebody who's actually running the fucking country, or who's insisting that everybody wear them so that they can attack another fucking country because they're going to wipe other people out. That's the fear with Nazis. Am I wrong about that? Is that, yeah.
Judgy.
The political parties, which the ultra-nationalists support, received just over 2% of the vote in the 2019 elections. Ukraine.
Look at this fucker. What? Look at his face. This is the part where the details in this run up against what he thinks he knows. Look at his face. As Jimmy's reading this. You know what that means? He's not expecting this, meaning that Jimmy and he are both citing an article they haven't bothered to fucking even peruse. Now, somebody did, probably Jimmy's wife, because she cut it down. They snipped parts of it because it doesn't look like this in their framing. They're not doing the whole, like, they're not including in it like I am when I show you this whole fucking picture. Give me 1 second. When I let's see, I gotta bring this down and then bink. There you go. So when I show you this whole fucking site, right, the information liberation site, I'm not grabbing just selective quotes of this fucking thing. And I'm letting you see what the corresponding articles on the side are. Biden signs anti-lynching bill, ignores lynching of New Orleans, Grandma Linda Fricky just last week. The idea is that this is a lynching bill just for black people. Who gives a shit about white people? This is the other article. I wonder if Jimmy's going to read this part. This is another Chris Menahan piece. This is the same guy. I haven't seen this before. Have you? No. Joe Biden on Tuesday signed an anti-lynching federal hate crime bill into law and gave a speech suggesting white people lynching black people is a persistent problem. Oh, did he do that? All while ignoring the lynching of a 73-year-old grandmother, Linda Fricky, who took place 1 week ago in New Orleans. Fricky was caught on film being carjacked, maced, beat, and dragged to her death, allegedly by 4 black teens in a vicious lynching that shocked the nation. Okay, it's not a fucking lynching. They drove away. She was stuck in the car. It tore her arm off. It's a fucking horrible crime. But that's not a lynching. Because a restraint was involved or she was stuck, they didn't take her out into a field and hang, like, what the fuck? And by the way, it would if they did, for the record, if these kids took her out and hung her from a tree because of her race, that would be covered under this bill. Racially motivated hangings are bad. Surreptitious extrajudicial hangings are bad. I'm against them, for the record, just in case anybody has to, you have to go on with this. And when they have to do with race, they would be covered under this bill, including if it was this woman and that was the case. That's not what happened here at all. They just drove away with her stuck to the car, which is fucking horrifying. Okay. If the goal of this anti-lynching bill was to actually stop lynching, the champions of the bill in Congress would have blown the story up and rushed to give TV interviews to highlight the need for Biden to sign the bill immediately. Instead, they all stayed silent. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and a multitude of Congress members rushed to highlight the lynching of Jussie Smollett and Kamala, and even cited as attempted in modern-day lynching, a reason to pass the anti-lynching bill, but they couldn't spare a word for Linda Fricky. Okay, she wasn't at all. They didn't pick her because she's an old white lady to steal her car. They were stealing cars. Like, this is fucked up. This is, I mean, and again, they cite people like when the news about Jussie Smollett came out, and these folks, specifically Harris and Biden, came out and went, that's terrible. It turned out to be fake. if it wasn't fake, there's nothing wrong with their empathy. They had no way of knowing it was fake at the time. Some of us thought it was a little hinky and kind of staggered our stride, let's say. But I wasn't running for office at the time, and it wasn't a huge news story in that regard, so whatever. They cite Breitbart. Out of 4,000 or so people lynched in 1882, yeah, here you go. Out of 4,000 or so people who were lynched in America from 1882 to 1968, 1,297 were white, according to Tuskegee Institute archives. Now, here's the difference. Lynching over time has shifted as far as a word in history away from a conversation about extrajudicial hangings to a racially motivated hanging. That lynching was about like specifically racially motivated extrajudicial hangings, as opposed to your run-of-the-mill fucking catch that guy, like a posse hanging someone, right? And people who pretend that word did modify over time and become, synonymous with a very specific act versus generalized stuff are being assholes, especially now, especially when they're dealing with this kind of stuff. But also, this is what Jimmy is citing. This is the page. This is the paper that Jimmy is citing. Same writer, same everything. Okay. And this dude is fucking what? Now, I'm not shocked that this dude isn't a regular reader of Chris Menahan's pieces at Information Liberation.
Flawed democracy, but unquestionably a democracy and in no way a Nazi regime. Okay, they're not really a democracy because we overthrew their democratically elected government.
No, we didn't. The coup Maidan happened in 2014. They've had 2 fucking elections since. We did not install Volodymyr Zelensky. Fuck you. Like, I don't even know why he's... And again, why don't you just say Yanukovych? Why don't you just just say Yanukovych was fucking railroaded?
And now their president has shut down all the opposition media and banned the opposition.
Yes, the opposition media. You mean the RT media? You mean the Russian propaganda sites that are owned and operated by the Russian government? P.S. They're in the middle of a war. I got news. There's a communications lockdown whenever your country is attacked.
Parties. So the calling it a democracy at this point is a big stretch. Ukraine.
Yes, it's really strange that the Jewish president had to lock up some members of opposition parties that would oppose a Jewish president. Not all of them, obviously. He didn't run unopposed, I don't think. I mean, honestly, this is just...
Neo-Nazi.
Jimmy needs some new guests. This is Jimmy's new guest.
Are the good type of neo-Nazis because they're funded and armed by Israeli billionaires.
Hang the fuck on. What? Let's jump back to the paper. Try to duck a day. Here we go. This is, there you go. This is at the tail end of it. By the way, he's jumping past what the ADL actually used. You notice that he's using the clips to the whole interview that this site did, the editorializing that this site did. And he's leaving out the screen grabs from the actual ADL, this stuff. But why call them Nazis aside from being the worst accusation one can make? This propaganda isn't new. Russia has for years highlighted the activity of a marginal group of Ukrainian ultranationalists as a way to try and stigmatize all of Ukraine. Yes, some members of the ultranationalist groups have used Nazi insignia, made Hitler salutes, used anti-Semitic rhetoric, but they're politically insignificant. Yeah, they're 8% of 8% of 8% of 2%. Like, it's fucking stupid. Ukraine's neo-Nazis are the good type of neo-Nazis because they're funded and armed by Israeli billionaires. Okay, so there's a link here. Open link in new tab. Let's see it. So that's here. Oh. I'm not a robot. That's a fire hydrant. How much of the fire hydrant? See that little corner right there? See, I think that includes the fire hydrant. Does the CAPTCHA think it includes that? Chimneys. That's a vent. There's no chimneys in this. All chimneys are not the same thing. Right. There you go. So, Ukraine, battalion backed by Jewish billionaires sent to fight pro-Russian militias. Despite ceasefire declarations, pro-Ukrainian, pro-Russian militias are still reportedly clashing in several locations in southeastern Ukraine. Okay, when is this? Hold on. Fucking June 24, 2014. Motherfucker. All right. Despite ceasefire declarations, pro-Ukrainian and pro-Russian militias are still reportedly clashing in several locations in southeastern Ukraine. Among those going to battle are some 500 trained fighters in the self-declared Azov Battalion, backed by Jewish energy magnate and Dnipropetrovsk regional governor Igor Kolomoisky, according to Israel's Maariv Daily. Ukrainians, again, 2014 is when, oh, god damn it. Honestly, all right, time doesn't move forward. It's, it's all frozen in place. Armed. Okay, so there's another one. Open link in new tab. Armed. They're armed in here. Where is it? Israel is arming neo-Nazis in Ukraine. This is the Electronic Intifada. You can donate for them. This is the 4th of July, 2018. This is what they spent their 4th of July doing. Here's this dude, A30B. They're doing this fist across the chest for the Azov Battalion. They're just about to give the Nazi salute. I was almost going to snap the picture, and I missed it. It was like that. Okay. The Azov Battalion used the Nazi wolf's angel symbol as its logo. Its founder, Andrei Beletsik, has moved to ban race mixing in the Ukrainian parliament. This is 2018. He's no longer in power. Israeli arms were being sent to heavily armed neo-Nazi militia in Ukraine, the Electronic Intifada has learned. Azov Battalion online propaganda shows Israeli licensed Tabor rifles in the fascist group's hands, while Israeli human rights activists have protested arms sales to Ukraine on the basis the weapons might end up in anti-Semitic militias. In a letter above about license for Ukraine obtained to the the Israeli Defense Ministry's export agency says they are careful to grant license to arms exporters in full coordination with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and other government. 26th letter was sent and replied Israeli lawyer Itai Mak, who written a detailed request demanding Israel end all military aid to the country. Azov official status, Ukrainian armed forces means it cannot be verified that Israeli weapons and training are not being used by anti-Semitic or neo-Nazi soldiers. Mack and other 35 other human activists wrote. Fuck, man. They had written the Ukrainian armed forces use rifles made in Israel and are trained by Israelis they had written that Ukrainian armed forces use rifles made in Israel and are trained by Israelis according to reports in the country. Yes, that is true. One of the other ways you can find out that the entire fucking military isn't all goddamn Nazis. By the way, like and subscribe, give a thumbs up. Honest to God, does anybody dive in like this? And this asshole is citing this. All right.
There you go.
There you go. There you go. And he doesn't even, by the way, what, did anybody notice anything missing in this? That's different from the text I just showed you? No hot links. Jimmy's not going to... oh, yes, it's time to renew your Twitch subs if you want to. Twitch.tv/HalSparks. Use your Amazon Prime and it doesn't cost you a dime. Support the show if you can. Also Venmo, because this is hot and sticky work, I got to say. No, there's no hot links in that. Funded isn't underlined and armed isn't underlined because it'll let people know that there was actually more to the story and that if you click on those things, there's less to the story. Yeah. All right. Here we go.
There you go. Profile. Who are Ukrainians' far-right Azov regiment?
Oh, yeah. Let's see. That's Al Jazeera. Who are Ukraine's far right oh yeah, same picture. He's shown this one before. This is the article from Al Jazeera. By the way, little rough on the breaking. Zelensky says, sorry, oops, they done that. U.S. to add more entities in Russia, Belarus to sanctions list. Ukraine says no longer any outsiders at Chernobyl. They've reclaimed Chernobyl. Zelensky says Ukraine bracing for powerful strikes in the Donbass region. Okay. Fucking, are these Israeli wooden guns? Are these, is that anti-Semitic lumber that's being used? Now this dude has I think I can't tell. Is that a New York Mets hat on it? You know, he's wearing. Look at this guy in the corner aiming his wooden gun. Do you think here's a nice neo-Nazi lady? Look at this neo-Nazi grandma. Look at this guy with the Russian hat on. They just can't. They're like, wait a minute. When do we get real anti-Jewish wooden guns? As the Russian invasion of Ukraine on the 6th day, the Russian President Vladimir Putin referenced the special military operation to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine. On Monday, Ukraine's National Guard tweeted a video showing Azov fighters coating their bullets in pig fat to be used against Muslim Chechens. All allies are deployed in the country. Azov, Ukraine's National Guard tweeted a video. Okay. Azov has been involved in training civilians through military exercises in the run-up to Russia's invasion. So what is the Azov Regiment? It's a far-right, all-volunteer infantry military unit whose members, estimated at 900, are ultra-nationalists and accused of harboring neo-Nazi and white supremacist ideology. The unit was initially formed as a volunteer group in May 2014 out of the ultra-nationalist Patriot of Ukraine gang and the neo-Nazi Social National Assembly group. Both groups engaged in xenophobic and neo-Nazi ideals and physically assaulted migrants, the Roma community, and people opposing abuse. 2014. As a battalion, the group fought on the front lines against pro-Russian separatists in Donetsk, the eastern region of Ukraine. Just before launching the invasion, Putin recognized the independence of two rebel-held regions from Donbass. A few months after recapturing the strategic port of Mariupol from the Russian-backed separatists, the unit was officially integrated into the National Guard of Ukraine on November 12, 2014, and exacted high praise from then-President Petro Poroshenko. Petro Poroshenko was the transition president from the Yanukovych times to the Zelensky times. These are our best warriors, he said at an award ceremony in 2014, our best volunteers. Who founded Azov? Okay, the Beletsky guy. 2010, Beletsky said Ukraine's national purpose is to lead the white race out of the world. Okay, like this is, again, time moves forward. Before becoming part of Ukraine's, who funded them? Received backing from Ukraine's interior minister in 2014 as the government was recognizing its own military was too weak to fight off the pro-Russian separatists and relied on paramilitary volunteer forces. These forces were privately funded by oligarchs, the most known being Igor Kolomoisky, an energy magnate, billionaire, and then governor of the Dnipropetrovsk region. That's the Jewish dude that they were talking about, who's Israeli-led or whatever. Because they're fighting, he's funding the entire area. Like every volunteer wants to fight against the Russians, he's funding them. In addition to Azov, Kolomoisky funded other volunteer battalions such as the Dnipro 1, Dnipro 2, Adar, and Donbass units. He fucking poured money into the area to fight the Russians. He didn't give a fuck who was shooting Russians as long as they were shooting Russians because they were at war. Like, come the fuck on. He didn't single out the Azovs and go, as a Jew, I mean, sure I could give money to these four other groups, but I hear that this other group was started by neo-Nazis, and I think I've... Okay. Let's see. In 2015, Andriy Dyanchenko, the spokesperson for the regiment at the time, said that 10 to 20% of Azov's recruits were Nazis. The unit is denied it adheres to Nazi ideology as a whole, but Nazi symbols such as the swastika and SS regalia are rife on uniforms and bodies of Azov members. For example, the uniform carries the neo-Nazi Wolfsangel symbol, which resembles a black swastika on a yellow background. That's like saying Tibetan temples have fucking swastikas on them. The group said it is merely an amalgam of the letters N and I, which represent national idea. Individual members have professed to being neo-Nazis, hardcore far-right, ultra-nationalists, whatever. Pogroms against the Roma community. Ukraine is the world's only nation to have a neo-Nazi formation in its armed forces. A correspondent for the U.S. magazine The Nation wrote in 2019. And a Jewish president. Human rights violations, war crimes 2016 report. Right. What's been the international response? 2015, Canada and the United States announced their own forces will not support or train the Azov Regiment, citing its neo-Nazi connections following the year, 2015. However, the following year, the U.S. lifted the ban under pressure from the Pentagon in October 2019. It's because they were fucking 10%. They're like, we got to train these guys. We're training everybody. All right. Anyways, this is the site. This is what he's citing.
The far-right neo-Nazi group has expanded to become part of Ukraine's armed forces.
They didn't expand. They were folded into the armed forces by an act of the parliament. They made everybody official all at once.
Militia and a political party.
Yeah. And 8% of 2% is not my concern in a country where 100% of the people are in danger.
So what is the Azov Regiment? Azov is a far-right, all-volunteer infantry military unit formed as a volunteer group in May 2014 out of the ultra-nationalist Patriot of Ukraine gang and the neo-Nazi...
Formed out of it? 900 people in the Azov Battalion. 900. Meaning 90 of them, by their own numbers, 180 at the peak were neo-Nazis or neo-Nazi sympathizers. The rest of them were volunteers from the area.
National Assembly group. Both groups engaged in xenophobic and neo-Nazi ideals and physically assaulted migrants, the Roma community, and people opposing their views.
What about... maybe float the idea, Jimmy. What about everyone else in the country? There's 44 million people in Ukraine. 900 people in the Azov Battalion, of which 180 at the peak were neo-Nazi sympathizers.
Here it is, winning hearts and the PR war, but Ukraine has a Nazi problem that NATO and the United States do not talk about. That's from February 20.
That's from February 2020, or 2022. From OP India?
22. That's from February.
Yeah, that's from an Indian paper. Let's see. It's weird that India is writing favorable stories in lines with what Putin is saying, isn't it? Now, do you think, ladies and gentlemen, that if America and another country were supporting each other because of oil being traded, that Jimmy would just go, I mean, they're just speaking honestly about their relationship. And all right, fucking hell.
2022. The cartel of Western nations, who is otherwise swift and prompt in condemning anti-Semitism, look the other way, nay, openly arm and encourage fascist groups with neo-Nazi leanings. If that helps them in thwarting their opponents and reasserting their hegemony. So they'll...
that doesn't sound like a political point of view or anything. That sounds like just bare bones news.
In bed with literal Nazis if it helps them politically. Commentary, Ukraine's neo-Nazi program. There it is from Reuters.
Yeah, there it is from Reuters. March 19th, 2018. Updated 4 years ago. Quick question, quick guess. You guys, when it's a mini quiz. That's what I wanted to say. That's the word I was looking for. Quick quiz. Was Volodymyr Zelensky, the current Jewish president serving the country of Ukraine, elected before or between then and now?
When is this from? This is from March 2018.
That looks like
Right. And Zelensky was elected in 2019. That looks like Charlotte. He's going to say that looks like Charlotte. So what Jimmy is saying is that if anybody wanted to nuke America because of the assholes that showed up at Charlotte, they would be completely justified.
Yeah, that looks
march in our country.
Yeah, it looks like what happened in what was that? Charleston.
Yeah, looks very
right. And the president of the United States said there were good people on both sides, and you would basically, what his argument is that the rest of the world should view our country as a Nazi regime, and because Trump was president, and feel free to strafe bomb our hospitals.
It's almost exactly like a exact replica.
Like, share, recruit. How a white supremacist militia uses Facebook to radicalize and train new members. Time magazine, Inside. Hold on. Time. Like, share, recruit. Okay. Like, share, this is from 2021. World extremism. Like, share, recruit. How a white supremacist militia uses Facebook to radicalize and train new members. The snow just melted on the streets of Kiev when Sean Fuller, a U.S. Navy veteran, arrived in the spring of 2019. His roller suitcase clattering the paved stones on the western edge of town. He found an address. His recruiter sent him on Facebook. Flop house with 24 beds, each reserved for a foreign fighter. The men Fuller ran were mostly from Europe, as was his recruiter, a chain-smoking Norwegian named Joachim Furholm, who had been convicted of bank robbery in Norway in 2010. The two of them met over Facebook and gotten each other well. When they finally rendezvoused, he noticed the swastika tattoo on the middle finger of Furholm's hand and said it did surprise him. The recruiter had made no secret of his neo-Nazi politics. Within the global network of far-right extremists, he served a point of contact in the Azov movement, the Ukrainian militant group that has trained and inspired white supremacists from all over around the world, which Fuller came to join. Its fighters resemble other paramilitary units. There are dozens of them. They have helped defend Ukraine against Russian military over the past 6 years. But Azov is much more than militia. It has its own political party, 2 publishing houses, summer camps for children, a vigilante force known as the National Militia, which patrols the streets of Ukrainian cities alongside the police. Unlike its ideological peers in the United States and Europe, it also has a military wing with at least 2 training bases and a vast arsenal of weapons, from drones and armored vehicles to artillery pieces, also gut bacteria. Outside Ukraine, Azov occupies a central role in the network of extremist groups. The vast majority have no apparent links to far-right ideology, but as Sofran looked at the recruitment methods of Ukraine's more radical militias, he found an alarming pattern. It reminded him of Afghanistan in the 90s. After Soviet forces withdrew, the U.S. failed to fill the security vacuum. Pretty soon, the extremists took over. The Taliban was in charge, and we did not wake up until 9/11. This is parallel now in Ukraine. This is... I don't know if this is the same timescape, but whatever. Okay. At a hearing on the House Committee on Homeland Security in September 2019, Sofan urged lawmakers to take the threat more seriously. The following month, 40 members of Congress signed a letter calling unsuccessfully for the U.S. Department to designate Azov a foreign terrorist organization. Azov has been recruiting, radicalizing, training American citizens for years. The letter said, Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, later confirmed in a testimony to the United States that American white supremacists are actually traveling overseas to train. The hearings on Capitol Hill glossed over the crucial question. How did Azov, an obscure militia, obscure? Started in 2014 with only a few dozen members, become so influential in the globe of far-right extremism. Time and more than a dozen interviews with Azov leaders and recruits found that the key is to international growth has been social media, Facebook. In a statement to Time, Facebook defended its recent attempts to deal with them. The 250 groups. Here's a bunch of people standing in the thing. Here they are having lunch with their weapons. Yes, it's attempt to crack down. Okay. Oh, sorry. Where is it? There's a tail on this story. In a statement to Time, Facebook defended the crackdown part. It was them. Have been far from fully effective. The online game of catch and delete, which Facebook says it's central to. Okay, that's them trying to reach it. The worst such attack in the massacre of 51, okay, Christchurch in New Zealand. An arm of the Azov Battalion helped distribute the terrorists' raving manifesto and print online, seeking to glorify his an arm of the Azov movement. Right. Yeah, we're getting tacitly like, again, fucking 20% of this group becomes 8% of this group, and then people related but not in that 8% start distributing fucking bullshit like this, and that's reason for 44 million people to fucking die.
Here's Time Magazine getting in on telling you about.
Yeah, they're showing these guys playing volleyball together.
Nazis like, share, and recruit how a white supremacist militia uses Facebook to radicalize and train new members.
Militia? I thought they were a part of the government.
The Azov Battalion.
Yes. The betrayer asked the question, so what's Jimmy's point? This is all justified. Yes. Every building you see leveled, every Russian who kills a Ukrainian, steals their food, blows a carload of them trying to escape to pieces, every Ukrainian abducted and moved to Siberia is completely justified because of 120 dudes in the southern part of the fucking country, and the rest of the people just have it coming. If you harbor any Nazis, the good and true soldiers of light from Russia have Jimmy's full fucking blessing to level your country.
Ukraine's white supremacist militia. That's freaking Time Magazine. So again, this isn't Putin propaganda.
Yes, it is. The propaganda is that Ukraine as a whole fucking country is on the hook for these assholes. We have right-wing militias that do like prepper activity in Michigan and Arizona and Texas. They run little fucking white supremacist camps. They're planning for the great day of the rope. They exist. Some of them serve in the military. Some of them are in Customs and Border Patrol. A lot of them are police officers. As long as they keep their sleeves rolled down, nobody fucking knows.
Are facts reported in the news. But right now, if I talk to my old college roommate, he's going to tell me that, oh, that's Putin. I said, well, they're in bed with Nazis. He goes, Jimmy, that's what Putin says. Yeah, Putin also says the water is wet. That doesn't mean it isn't.
I have not seen, no pun intended, anything where Putin says that water is wet. At this point, he might be so batshit crazy, he might be eating baking powder in a tub.
That's how propaganda works.
Yes, this is how propaganda works. You take the seed of reality on a small end and you blow it completely out of proportion to either demoralize or what about in a very complex situation and say, fuck it, just let them die. Not my problem.
See how propaganda works. All I have to do is call my old roommate. Here's Rokana. And
by the way, your old roommate fucking hates you. And by the way, okay, this is, I guess... Rokana, this is, 5/5/2018.
Ever since the Orange Revolution began under President Bush, the U.S. has been complicit in the rehabilitation and spread of neo-Nazis in Ukraine. This is a congressman who is now arming those same Nazis.
No, he's arming Ukraine. We're not sent, and this same bullshit is about a small battalion. This is fucked up.
This is important just because he tweeted this out.
The amazing whataboutism in this situation versus like in a time when they are currently not at war or not being invaded. We're arguing about whether or not arms are falling into far right European groups' hands, which is a reasonable concern to have. And then basically going, if there's a possibility for that, we just got to let these fuckers die.
Before, in 2018, before we knew that the United States wanted to overthrow Putin and do a...
I'm sorry. We want to overthrow Putin? Is that what we've been gearing up for? Oh, that's right. That's how we sprayed him in the face with that magic mist we made with MK Ultra that made him fucking attack the country.
War in Ukraine. That's before. So before he was able to tell the truth about it, Rokana no longer tells the truth about Ukraine. He's
right, because the truth is frozen in time. Yeah, hold on one second. I got it. have to turn the fan on. It's hot in here. I'm getting all misty.
Imperialist. Enough is enough. Our government must stand up to the Azov Battalion and other fascist groups. So that was him giving you a head fake and letting you think he was a decent person.
Holy shit.
Who was also a progressive politically who wanted to fight against Nazis. He doesn't. He wants political power for himself, and he'll use whatever track that'll get it for him. And right now, before it was standing up to Nazis, now it's arming Nazis. So whichever way the wind blows, that's the way Rokon is going to go.
By the way, this is his opinion of progressives in the House. Fuck the squad, fuck Bernie Sanders, fuck Ro Khanna, like that's Jimmy, like full on now. So much so, he has so much bile and hatred for them that Putin is the good guy in this. Holy hell.
Because he's a politician. That's what they do. They're all like that. They don't have morals or character or ethics. The neo-Nazi problem in Ukraine is just Russian propaganda. There they are.
Right. Are those Russian soldiers who brought that in? Jimmy, are those do you know the unit number and those folks? Are they legit Azov Battalion? Or are those two Russian soldiers posting pictures? Do you know? Do you care? Would you ask? Would Putin, who benefits from this picture? Oh God, this is lazy.
There they are. And guess what?
Yeah. Two of them, if even taking them as their word, two of them, but fuck 44 million Ukrainians because two assholes in a field.
This is the ADL. This is what Ben and Jerry's decided to stop sales of ice cream in the Palestinian occupied territory to protest Israel's occupation and brutal oppression of the Palestinians. We are disappointed by this decision from Ben and Jerry's. You can disagree with policies without feeding into dangerous campaigns that seek to undermine Israel. Yeah, that's the whole point. You're trying to put an economic.
It's okay. So this is the like the BDL, or like basically this is divestment campaign. So we're back around to, because the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, doesn't like this kind of stuff. That means they're pro-neo-Nazi, and this is the backup for the other shit you saw. This is the propaganda loop. Bring it back around. Yeah, this is Jill Stein shit.
On Israel's government so that they stop oppressing the Palestinian people. That would be the whole point of that.
So the Jewish president of Ukraine should die by being killed by hit squads sent by Vladimir Putin because there are neo-Nazis in a battalion in southern Ukraine that are being funded by Israeli Jews and supported by the ADL.
You know, like you guys are all doing now to Russia, like you all did to Libya, like you all did to Iraq, like you all did to...
Yeah, we all... Yeah, like y'all did? The fuck do you mean y'all? You're an American citizen, dum-dum. We. That's why we vote.
Syria, Afghanistan, Yemen, any place you don't like the people.
I didn't realize I don't like the people of Yemen or Somalia. I don't?
I love this tweet. It says, ADL, well, they're not Nazis.
Yeah, this is, by the way, this is him borrowing a joke from someone. That's also, by the way, that's a picture, in case you don't know. That is a picture of Sean Connery in the movie The Man Who Would Be King, where he's wearing a Masonic regalia as he makes himself king of a small area or whatever. It's a story about a man who becomes power hungry and loses his morals.
Exactly. They're not the bad kind of Nazis.
Yeah. ADL says,
again, this fucker's just borrowing jokes from other people.
The Ukrainian neo-Nazis ain't all that bad once you get to know them. So that's how bad it's gotten that now the ADL, the group of Jews.
I don't feel very defended by the ADL right now as a Jew, that they're telling me there's certain kind of Nazis that are okay.
There are certain kind of Nazis that are okay. Apparently, you're not a good Jew, I bet.
I'm a terrible Jew.
Terrible
really
Jew.
bad at it.
Hey, we're doing our live stand-up tour.
Fuck me. How deep do you have to? Okay. God damn, that was awful. And I know I'm going long tonight, but fuck, what is that? How do you make that all right? The scrambling, because Jimmy dug this hole for himself early on in this. And there's just no way out. He's like, it's basically like QAnon bullshit at this point. There's too much ego invested to go, I overstepped. I didn't think Russia was really going to attack. And I'm not a fan of, American imperialism. And I believed what Aaron Mate was selling me about the 2014 Euromaidan, that it was just a puppet situation from the United States. And in my head, in my moral base, the choice between being a Russian puppet state and an American puppet state are equal, which is fucking lunacy, proven by the fact that Jimmy doesn't live in Russia, he lives here. And if he did any of the shit he's talking about in Russia, he would simply be in jail right now. I mean, that's one of the great things about America. I'm glad Jimmy's show is on, because it reinforces the very fact that this is a superior country. That if you're going to be a puppet to a country, it should be one of the countries that allows the citizenry to talk random shit about their government all the time. I mean, insofar as I'm thinking, like, Jimmy is the biggest American flag waver there is. Because he's not like, you know what, Snowden has a point. He didn't go over there and set up fucking shop. And if he did, we wouldn't be seeing any of his shit. Anyways, don't forget to like and subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Venmo over here. You can also subscribe to the show on YouTube. We're almost at 32K. It's pretty great. Hold on, let me check. We're almost 32K. We're almost at 32K. It's very exciting. And share the show. That helps too. Hold on. Let me go to my channel. There we go. How do we get that out of there? 31.2. Okay. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're chipping away. Chip away. Piece by piece. Here we go.